torture and misgiving. Yet the Bible speaks of a heaven that is filled with material luxuries, which the preacher man has right here on this earth. Why are we so religious, and yet we are number one in all diseases? Where are we from? Where are we going? Can you tell? Why did not the ancient prophets see our suffering? Or is someone lying to us? Jeremiah 8:21. It says, "For the hurt of the daughter of my people am I hurt. I am black. Astonishment has taken hold upon me." Why do we sit on riches and yet we beg for help? Are we really Gentiles as told by the preachers? Or do they too have an agreement with lies? Why did Moshe marry an African? Why did Solomon date an African queen? Why was the Messiah taken into Africa to be hidden from the enemy? Can anyone tell me? Why did Job say that his skin was black? Why does the scripture say that black is beautiful, and yet all the biblical images we have show something totally different? Are we really Gentiles as told by the preachers? Why is it written then that the servants of the Most High shall come forth from Ethiopia? Why is it written that princes shall come out of Egypt, and Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto the Most High? Why did our brethren go into slavery? Why did not the prophets see that? Or is someone lying to us? Why do we always blame witches? Do you want to know? Do you want to hear? Do you want to be free? The hour of restoration has come, as was prophesied by Ezekiel the prophet. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the dry bones representing the rejected people shall come and learn of their history, and the strength of the Almighty shall enter them, and they will begin to awake from slumber. Let us rise and build. Let us accept our mistakes and change. Let us stop watching the world and begin to read. For the time is now, and the hour of our restoration has come.
Shalom, 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 dear listeners. We welcome you once again to the hour of restoration, coming your way live each and every Shabbat morning from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So tell a friend to tune in, because the hour of restoration is officially getting started.
It's the same God who was there for you in the midnight hour. It's the same God who is able to wipe your tears away. It's the same God who was there in time of lack and want. It's the same God. It's Jehovah, my great provider. Tell me why you're giving up on God. Tell me why you're giving up on Him. Tell me why you're giving up on God. Hold on, change is on the way. Ebesina, Chukunonso, Ogini Bunso Bugi, Imana Tia Tigide, one nemo. Jideseke Hitayagie Chukatiga Twasi Agadiri Gima. Don't you cry, it changes He. Weep him and down for a night. Joy's gonna come in the morning. You don't have to cry no more. Hold God by His word. He's gonna do what He says. Lift your hands and give Him praise. that's why I see. Ebesina, Shukunanso, Ogini Bunso Boogie, Imanati Antigide. One more.
Today we'll be coming your way with the table talk with the topic or discussion called Is the Church a Family Business? And afterwards we'll get into a wonderful testimony and something that one of our sisters has to share. And after that we'll be diving into the word in regards to the topic of today once again, Is the Church a Family Business?
But I'm here to many a broken heart. Believe in me, you will overcome. Yesterday will be your story. I'm the God of all flesh. Nothing is too hard for me to do, yes. Time to forget. I can go see. Time to forget now. Time to forget. Can't you die that you might leave? Don't you cry, it's gonna be over. You will overcome today. Wipe your eyes and give him all the praise.
During the table talk, you know that we love to interact. We love to know what you think before we tell you what we think. We love to have a piece of your mind. So know that you can call in to share your contributions on 06577140006. I repeat, 06577140006. And you can simply drop down your comment underneath the Facebook live video, and we'll try our best to answer your question or notion.
I was lost inside the desert, vultures circling round my head, but thanks to God now, I made it out of there. I was just another sheep inside the belly of the beast, but thanks to God now, I made it out of there. Guru Guru Meje Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Meje Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Meje Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Meje Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah, hallelujah. This ain't lucky, no. Can't you see the hand of heaven is upon me? Yeah. This ain't lottery now. This is 40 days and 40 nights. Seek and ye shall find. I say more muscle to your hustle, more butter to your bubble, more blessing to the talika. May God give you all the barika. More muscle to your hustle, more butter to your bubble, more blessing to the talika. May God give you all the barika. I was lost inside the desert, vultures circling round my head, but thanks to God now, I made it out of there. I was just another sheep inside the belly of the beast, but thanks to God now, I made it out of there. Guru Guru Meje Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Meje Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah.
Know that if you are on the go and you can't watch us live on Facebook, you can download the TuneIn Radio app and search for High Radio, and you'll be able to follow us.
I see clearly now. Sun's outside and my night has turned to day. I see clearly now. I used to be lost and God showed me the way. I see clearly now. All I see is blessings every time I look back. I see clearly now. I see clearly. Oh, hallelujah, meje baba mojuba. I was lost inside the desert, vultures circling round my head, but thanks to God now I made it out of there. I was just another sheep inside the belly of the beast, but thanks to God now, I made it out of there. Hallelujah.
Once again, the hour of restoration is officially started, and we are getting into our first segment of the day, and it is called Table Talk, where we invite the people in our midst to discuss certain topics that really relate to the people that we deal with on a daily basis, the church, our family, and even we ourselves. And today's topic, today's notion is the church a family business? Many times when you see a pastor, you see that the ones that follow the pastor is usually his son or even his daughter or even his wife. If a pastor becomes a pastor, his wife becomes an assistant pastor. And we want to see if that is really what the book says about it. So the topic of today, once again, is the church a family business? And I have two wonderful people with me here today. Brother Jeff, our preacher man, and our sister Marsha. And let's get to business. I have this notion that I would like you to answer. And it says, is the church become a family business? But before we get into that, I would like to have a definition of church, because I've heard like different kind of definitions. I've heard different things concerning the church. Some say it's a building. When they say I cannot leave my church, they literally mean their location. And others say the church is the people that are within the building and not the building itself. So I would like to ask you, what is your definition of church, Brother Jeff?
I think I'll be a gentleman for today, and I'll let the ladies flow first so that I can
As you wish.
draw inspiration from that.
My perception of church has always been not a building, but the gathering of, the fellowship between believers. So coming together. So that doesn't necessarily have to be in a church building or a certain set. It could be in any certain setting, as we know that where two or three are gathered, He is in the midst. So wherever people come to fellowship together and study the Word and pray, that to me is, I don't like using the word church, but
Is
church.
there a reason why you don't want to use the word church?
Well, I think that would take us to deriving to certain root words, and maybe that would be.
So there is something behind the word church that.
Yes.
Okay, so
I would rather refer to it as a gathering.
A gathering.
Yeah.
Okay, so that sounds like a piece of advice, something to study. Why is there a reason why we shouldn't use the word church? But that's another topic for another day. Brother Jeff, do you have anything to contribute to that?
I think she has said it all. I do believe that the church, it is internal rather than external. A lot of us have the ideology or the mindset that church is a building, church is a gathering of people. But I think first and foremost, we need to see ourselves as the so-called church, or I would rather call it the temple, because that changes our perception of life, and it also brings about a mandate on how to conduct our life. So if you would ask me what the definition of church is, or what the definition of a gathering is, I would say that we are the body, or we are the temple, and by that means we are engrafted into the main body, even the body of Hamashiach. So yeah, that's what I can say for now, or that's my perception.
But like I know many believers that go to the gathering or the church, and it really takes a while before you come to see yourself or the people as a gathering. So what was that thing that made you realize that, hey, it is not the building that is the church or the gathering, but it is like the believers that are within that make up or the form that the body of the Messiah? How did you come to the point that you realized it?
I think this month has been a month of reflection for our group, and I believe that that's where it starts, when you really start to reflect on your actions, your motives, and your whys, the reason behind the things that you do. And what you will see is that many of us, we are into denominations. We can explain, or we want to explain, why we are of a certain denomination, but we can't necessarily explain the Messiah. We can't necessarily explain what we believe. So I think that that's where it started for me, that, okay, I've been going to church, but am I being the church? If I put away this gathering on Sundays or this gathering on the Sabbath, can I still call myself a believer? And what would be the reasons that I call myself a believer? Because I think many people just think that by reason of going to a particular gathering that makes them believers. But I think it's way more than that. And I do believe that starts with reflection. So yeah, I would say that reflection is key, or is essential.
Okay. Sister Marsha, do you, like, I've seen, like based on the believers that I know and the people that go to church, not many people have the same mindset like what you just expressed. Do you go to church? Because of that, is there do you even go to church? Like,
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Well, honestly, because if I go, I don't necessarily join the general congregation. I usually help out with kids, which is separated. There is a reason why I have chosen to do so, because I think, and it's not even specifically in my case, but in general, a lot of people are going not as Brother Jeff said, because of their own belief, or their own conviction, and the importance of, or their knowledge of the Most High, but because that's just something that they've grown used to, because they always went with their parents, or their parents are forcing them, or there's a sort of social pressure around, like, oh, Sundays, especially in Ghanaian community, Sundays you have to go to church,
It's the African thing.
So what you see then is that people are there and they're attending, but you're not engaging in the I find
the
hard
motion,
to,
or
well, you're present, but there's no presence. If you understand what I'm trying to say. So it's I don't see, like, what's the goal? Why are you here? Like, what are you contributing? But what you just witness is people sitting there, and they claim they're taking things in, but then after when it's 2:00, everybody goes home and back to their own daily affairs, and
it's more like it has become more like a certain tradition. Like,
Yeah.
We went to church for 20 years, so we'll go to church.
For the next 20 years.
And that's it.
Yeah,
It's no church to Monday to Saturday, but it's church on Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's the tradition. And that's something we have to be careful about. So the next question is, when you see or when you think about the church, many people say it has become a business, like it's like an organization, and you can make real money with a church. That's what many people say. Like when they say the church is a business or a religious organization, a profit organization, what do you think about it, Jeff?
So whether or not church has become a business.
No, like when people say it, like do you agree with it or do you disagree?
I think we would be crazy if we said that we didn't agree, because we see it all around us, that they have commercialized the anointing, they have commercialized the calling, and everything as pertaining to the so-called church has to do with money. I think that the message of salvation, the message of sacrifice, the message of self-denial has been taken out of the equation, and all that we speak about is prophecy, finance, and prosperity, which is rather unfortunate because these are things that are add-ons. These are things that can be added later on in the stage of in a later stage of your faith. It is not why we worship Elohim. So I do co-sign with that notion that says that church has become a business. Some prophets will say that you need to pay €500 to unlock the anointing, to unlock the prophecy.
The eyes.
Some would say that sow miracle money to receive miracle money. But what if you don't have anything? Have you ever heard that come and sow fruits? Come and sow vegetables to reap something? You see, so I would say that many elements that we are seeing around the church has become very commercial. Even if you look at something like tithe, it is standard for a believer to pay tithe. When you instruct or you teach a believer about tithe, there's no need for you to repeat it again. Why should it be done in front of the church? It is something, as soon as you get your money, send it out and it's gone. But now we have to commercialize it. Come and dip your envelope into oil. Why? All business. So it's unfortunate, but church has really become a business. Go to a launching, go to whatever thing. It is all about money. Some churches even have 4 rounds of offerings. I don't know what type of money that they want to bring in, but it's unfortunate and it's very saddening. Yeah.
Like to add to that as well, what I've also seen is that it's also easy for certain preachers to then, rebuke when you're not paying your tithe. But when it comes to all the other things that we are ought to do, nobody's speaking on that. So why is there such an emphasis on money that you're not paying?
So that's something to really look at. Like when you see people in the assembly or in the gathering or in the church, many times you even know the sins or the things that your neighbor is committing, and your pastor knows it, but there is no word about it. But when it comes to not paying the tithe, then you see the pastor preaches about it. So that's like a tool to use to really see who is like serious about it or which church has become a business.
Yeah, the rent needs to be paid, huh? Yeah.
Like and in every business, you see that if you have a business, you would like your successor to be one of your own, and that is exactly what we are seeing in the churches or in the gatherings. So, what my question is then is, like seeing that the church usually uses the successor, a family member, is it wrong to use your son to replace you? Is it wrong to use your woman or your wife or your daughter to replace you? Is that a wrong thing to do?
Sister.
Yeah, I find this question quite hard to answer because, to be honest, in my surroundings, I haven't really witnessed family succession. But yes, it is wrong. Because what happens is then you start to appoint people to certain posts. And to my perception, it is not a person who calleth a person into a certain ministry. So based on, there's so many people in your church. Is it, how so? Is it that your son is the one that
Exactly.
is supposed to be in that position. How do you know?
No.
So there must be some type of well, obviously there is a certain type of favoritism that comes into play as to why that happens.
And to like, okay, let's say many times when a pastor is anointed to become a pastor, you see that his wife instantly becomes, or the assistant pastor. In the Congolese church we call it mama pasteur, and in the Ghanaian community they call it sofumame. Like why, like when we put it that way, is that okay to do? Like, is it allowed? Is it like, because I don't understand why does your wife have to become the assistant pastor because you have become the pastor?
What I may say is very controversial, but we'll put it out there. From Genesis to Revelation, I'm yet to see a woman pastor. If you see one,
Call me.
send us a message so that we can have a discussion. Even if you want to do it live on radio, it's possible. So it is very key for us to think about all these things, because what you see is that people are so in the business mindset that they want to enlarge their circle of influence. You know, if I am a sole leader, my influence is limited. However, if my sister becomes my co-leader and I'm one in her mindset, or we are one in mindset, we can do more. That's why the Bible says that one will chase 1,000, but two will chase far more. So I understand why they do it, but at times we really need to check our intentions. You can push people into ministry. This week I was listening to a prophet and he was preaching and he said something that when he first came into the call, he was trying to push his wife into ministry. Then Elohim rebuked him and said that your wife is not called into ministry. Your wife is called to support you in your ministry. So what the brother is asking and is saying is something that I see very much so. But one thing I like about the Messiah, he said that I must do my Father's business. We need to understand that the church or the gathering that we are talking about is not our own business, it's that of the Father. It always reminds me of the story of Samuel and Eli. Eli's sons were the one next in line or next in king. But it was Eli that had the mindset to become a servant of Elohim. So also at times when you look in the gathering, what you will see is that there are people that are eager. There are people that have the calling. But some pastors and some leaders are enforcing the calling upon their children. So what you will see is that they have a form of godliness, but they deny the power thereof. They preach exactly like their fathers. Why? It's my DNA. So I have the same type of anointing. But I don't believe that that is so. But I can understand if you toil 20, 30 years for a ministry to pass it on to a stranger. But that is where the kingdom mindset comes. It is not your ministry. It's the ministry of the Father. So I see it a lot. And it's rather unfortunate because the fact that I am anointed or I am ordained or I am called doesn't necessarily mean that my wife is called in that same area or my son is called in that same area. So that trying to enforce churches, trying to enforce branches on our family members, it's a hele negatieve ontwikkeling. Yeah.
And in that, you also see the business aspect rising again, because if you really look at successful businesses or successful business communities, they keep certain things in
the
a
family.
Why? So that the money circulation stays in the family, so that influence or power stays in the family. So it's a similar thing happening. You can have people that are working so hard in a business, they'll never reach a certain position because
then the money
they're
goes
not.
out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it is a strategic move.
Yes.
But I have a question that maybe you can answer it, Marsha. It is of one of our brothers called Randy. And he says, how do you as a believer, like when you see the light, as they call it, or the truth, then you begin to see that certain things are going wrong in the assemblies and the church. So how do you as a believer seeking the truth, how do you ought to deal with these situations in your church or in any church? Do you stay? Do you go away? What do you do? Or do you just remain silent?
Okay, this is a hard one because a lot of people, when they think they've seen the light, they immediately vanish. Okay, let me start like this. I do think there are benefits that come with attending a church for certain people. And there are certain people, when they get a little knowledge or they get a little truth, then they want to distanciate themselves. But you are not, you've not been grounded yet in a certain, on a certain foundation that would cause you to stand strong if you leave. But then I understand also that it might be difficult to stay, because what I personally experience, I start getting irritated with the things that I see around me. But at the end of the day, what is most important is that you should also focus on yourself. Just because you know something now doesn't necessarily make you better than the other people that you were in the congregation with before. So you just make sure that you work out your own salvation. And at a moment in time where you have grown and where you have found some solid foundation, that is when I think you can slowly but surely take steps back.
So it takes you have to search for the foundation that can allow you to leave, because sometimes I think that when you have the light and you think that other people are in darkness, it becomes like your duty to try to even enlighten a few, because the Bible says that you are the light. So if you think that you have the light and you see the people around you, they aren't in light, if you distanciate yourself, that means that they will remain in darkness. So I think that that's also something to think about when you decide to just vanish or leave or just ignore people because you know something.
Yes, and exactly the point that you're making. What also a lot of people tend to do is they want to share what they just, came to know. But that's why I said you need to also work in your own salvation, because it's your lifestyle and the way you handle and portray yourself which will show that light unto others, which will make people see and think, there is something different about that person. Why? And that is an opening to indeed shine your light.
Okay. And so we have been speaking about that the assembly in many ways has become a business, and that the predecessor doesn't necessarily have to be your son. So that means that in certain assemblies they have been selecting the predecessor the wrong way. So my question then is, what is the right way to determine if someone is ready to follow in, or to stand in your footsteps, or to become a pastor? Or how do you even see it, and how do you notice it?
It's a good question. I think in the book of Numbers...
Should I take it?
No, it's okay. I'm not here to preach. I'm just sharing my thoughts. There was a process, or there was a moment where Moshe was interacting with the Most High. And afterwards he said that, he was interacting with his father-in-law, and he said that instruct the elders, those that have been faithful over the years, and instruct them and set them as leaders or as elders over the people. I think that the most important prerequisite for ministry is faithfulness and years of service. And that is why this whole church business and family thing is so unfortunate, because what you will see is that you have an elder, you have a person that has served, or a deacon has served in the church for 15 years, faithful, praying, always assisting, always doing everything. Then all of a sudden an 18-year-old comes. He just repented. He was a smoker. He was a fornicator. We thank the Most High that he has repented. And 3 years later, the baton is handed over to him. And the deacon only gets the chance to preach one time a year. The elder only gets the time to preach one time a year. So I do believe that faithfulness towards the greater cause, towards the greater commission, that is the most important element when it comes to selecting a person. Not because he's your family, not our qualification. I know certain churches, they will go to a camp and they will put 3 chairs. And at the end of the camp, they have conditioned your mind to become a minister. And they will be like, who feels led to be a minister? Come and sit. You'll be sent out to Bermuda. You will send out to Aruba. You will be sent out to St. Martha. These are things that are not found in Scripture, yet they create an atmosphere for people to be called. So yeah, I think that these are all things that are happening. And that is why church can be considered a business, unfortunately. Yeah.
Another great question that I didn't think about even of the brother Randy. And he says that, what if you are the son of a pastor? And it comes to a point that your father is trying to push you towards that direction, but you don't feel led, or you don't feel like it is something for you right now. Because we speak about people that do it, that means that certain people are in that situation. So what if you find yourself in that situation? And so how would you go about it? Let's begin with Sister Marsha. So
I honestly don't know, because it's especially when you know that that's not your position, and you have a pressure coming from inside your house, and of course perhaps a parent, you don't want to disappoint your parent. It places someone in a very difficult situation, because you want to please someone, but at the same time you know that it's not the right decision. And I honestly find it difficult to advise such a person as to what you would do in such a situation.
Can you add something to that, Brother Jeff?
I think it's a twofold question. You have people that are trying to run away from the ministry. They know that they are called, but if they see what their father is going through, they rather live the smooth life. They rather live the relaxed life. They rather live the better life. And you have other situations whereby people are really being pushed by their parents to go into ministry, and the latter is rather unfortunate. But one thing you should never forget is that every man is called to preach.
Every man.
Every man is called to preach. There's a difference between being a preacher man and preaching, but every man is called to preach. So when your father is instilling that principles of preaching into you, it's not necessarily that he's pushing you to become a minister. He's pushing you to become a man. That's why I'm saying that the question, it is twofold. And that the person or people in that situation should really ask themselves the question, as I'm running away from ministry, am I also running away from manhood? It's a very key question that people need to ask themselves. But yeah, if your father is pushing you into that area, know that you're not only called for his ministry, you are called for the kingdom of the Most High. So why do you have to take over his church? Why doesn't he tell you that, I started this church with one person. You also go out and start with one person. But they want you to continue in their footsteps. So, yeah, it's a twofold question. And that person should really pray and be honest to yourself. Because some people are just lazy. Yeah.
Some people are just lazy.
Yeah.
We have another question of a brother called Kees Kibinda. And it is... And he says that it was always my understanding that our money contributions to church was to both sustain the church, but most importantly to help the poor in the community. But instead we now see pastors having mansions, expensive cars, private jets, whilst the community remains poor. How can we as believers then keep going to these places?
It's a good question. We are just preparing the way. We are servants, and the main man will come. And I think he has more insight with regards to questions like this. So, Brother Kees Kibinda, all the way from Dublin, S.O. Nayao, we love you. May you continue to listen, and I pray that Elohim will give us insight on that question.
So then, if these answers are being answered, or if these questions will be answered in the preaching, I think that we can wrap it up. It has been a wonderful table talk, very, very insightful. And once again, I tell you, tell a friend to tune in, tell a friend to listen to this once again in the SoundCloud Hour of Restoration. And now we'll be heading towards the wonderful testimony one of our sisters has for us. So know that after this song, the wonderful, wonderful testimony will be shared once again. Shalom.
I get goosebumps just thinking about all the joy you brought in my life. Morning, night, I'll be singing it out. Let them know that my king is alive. Tell them you can give the weary more life. Tell them stop the crying cause there's no more life.
And know that also during the preaching, try to call in on 06577140006. I repeat, 06577140006, or drop your comment underneath the Facebook Live video. We thank you, Brother Andy and Case Kibinda, and of course our own Jim Mayer for your comments.
Search everywhere, they can never find, cause it's only in you, yeah. So if you dance, will it be enough? If we dance, will it be enough? No, 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 no. Keep our life for the one above, keep our life for the one above, yeah, yeah, yeah. Thousand tongues will be enough. What you've done, we go praise your name till the break of dawn. Thousand tongues will be enough. What you've done, we go praise your name till the break of dawn. Play the beat, oh yeah, on repeat, oh. Make we sing, oh yeah, for our King. Just thinking about all the joy you brought in my life. Morning, night, I'll be singing it out. Let them know that my King is alive. Tell them he can give the weary more life. Tell them stop the crying cause there's no more night. Oh, na na. Oh, listen, see. Today, somebody must to praise his name. Somebody, oh. Thousand tongues will be enough. What you've done, we go praise your name till the break of dawn. Thousand tongues won't be enough. What you've done, we go praise your name till the break of dawn. Play the beat, oh yeah, on repeat, oh. Make we sing, oh yeah, for our King. I don't have the words to describe all your mercies. I don't have the words to describe what you done for me. I don't have the words, no, I don't have the words, Papa. And 1,000 tongues won't be enough, even with 1,000 more, yeah. 1,000 tongues won't be enough. What you've done, we go praise your name till the break of dawn. 1,000 tongues won't be enough. What you done, we go praise your name till the break of dawn. Play the beat, oh yeah, on repeat, oh. Make we sing, oh yeah, for our King. Thousand tongues will be enough. What you've done, you go praise your name to the break of dawn. Please on the beat.
Shalom. Hey, as most of you already know me, I've been here a couple of times, and this time I would like to share a testimony. I'm a churchgoer, and I have a different experience when it comes to the church as being a family business. So I want to talk about going to church as a hypocrite. I want to share a testimony of the times when I used to go to church knowing that I was doing wrong. Like most of us, I was born and raised in a Christian home setting, and my parents did their best raising me, but I had other desires, and I went as far as I could until the world out there became a bit overwhelming for me. So since I don't always find it easy to articulate my introspection, I would like to read something.
To articulate your what? Introspection.
My thoughts and feelings.
Oh, simple English, please. Thank you.
So
Okay, let's be serious, guys. Okay. I would like to read.
Go ahead.
I can't serve the Lord now. I'm too young to live righteously, but I'm not too young to live in vanity, fantasy. I'm entangled in hypocrisy. See, I will visit you on Sundays, and I'll be clapping and singing, but I will go days without reading and praying. And I neglect your whisperings telling me to do good, yet I pay heed to whistles to fast forward my childhood. Yet I pay heed to sweet words that crush my innocence, and I bounce back with pride and bitterness. Those sheets comfort my skin, having another heartbeat next to me, but my soul is crying out for help, the consequence of sin. Now I have a secret to keep, but in your eyes, I've become a lost sheep. I've gone too far away, and this temporary satisfaction makes it hard for me to obey. Mom and Dad asking questions like, Abby, what's happening? I tell them to mind their own business. They want to listen to their babblings. Hang out with friends until we get dizzy. Go back home, tell a lie, and go back being tipsy. Open my eyes, it's Sunday again. Go to church clapping and singing. I go up front to pay some offering. Dirty money. Pastors preaching, it's hard to pay attention, but my flesh doesn't want to. And my flesh doesn't want to. My flesh is neglecting the words. But in his word, there is healing. Amen. My soul tries to convince me I'm living a lie, but I've lost my self-worth. So how do I reply? From time to time, I slip, I fall. I break down and pray, hoping to get out of this mess once and for all. This was my testimony in a nutshell. I hope you were able to get the gist of the message. What I was trying to say is that as a young girl, as I was growing up, I wish that I could tell you a story that I have always been an obedient girl, always obeyed the word, always was a person or a young lady who loved the word, but unfortunately that's not my story. And despite that not being my story, I'm not proud of the things that I did, but I'm very grateful and thankful that Elohim even remembered me in those days. You know, he didn't let me perish in vanity. He brought me out of darkness, and here I am today. So all praise to the Most High. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, and much thanks for your wonderful poem. I think it is something that is playing in the life of so many youngings in the assembly and in the church. I've even gone through it, to be honest. I've done the same things, so I know what you mean, and I know that once again this is being a blessing to so many people, that you are able to say that I was this person, but I'm trying to be, and I'm no more this kind of person. So if there is someone that can do it, to all the listeners, I encourage you also that you can also come out of what you are entangled in. Because what my favorite scripture is that goes with it is that the Bible speaks about what can a young man use to really begin to cleanse himself. And it simply says that you can only cleanse your way and deliver yourself from all the kinds of things that you are going through by simply obeying and really taking heed to what he is saying to you. And that simply means that listen to the whisperings, because I believe that the Most High did not give you a conscience for nothing. It is there to warn us. It is there to draw us back. And the more you ignore that conscience or that whisper, the more it goes away. So to strengthen that inner voice, that voice of the Most High, it simply means that follow it and listen to it. So once again, I really, really thank you for your poem. It was a wonderful thing. And we hope to see you soon. So on to all the listeners, once again, you are listening to the Hour of Restoration. Tell a friend to tune in, because after this song, we are diving into the meat of today, the word that we have prepared for you. So tell a friend once again to tune in. Shalom.
mutu makafa lufula bundu wani memei chinanga muntu muluma wa mputani bibangu zambia nyeye chinanga muntu wakasha butumbi wani meme zambia chinanga muntu senda wa muntu wa mweshi mbantwe chimukunanga uchimumanya chimukwela kumuchima wanye wewani mukunanga bikola wewakishada chimukunanga uchimumanya Yesu chimukwela kumuchima wani wewani mukunanga bikola wewakishada chimukunanga uchimumanya chimukwela kumuchima wanye wewani mukunanga bikola wewakishada senda wani wamweshikubantu mwata wani mele kanza miwenza mwakwela muyenga ukembra na shani la chimuchuka muluma kwenda ni chimukunanga uchimumanya chimukwela kumushima wani meme wewe wani mukunanga bikola wewe kishada kwande mata wani meme chimukunanga uchimumanya Yesu chimukwela kumuchima wanye wewe wani mukunanga bikola wewe kishada chimaba mchande chimumanya mwata wani chimukwela kumuchima wanye wewe wani mukunanga bikola wewe kishada wewe kishama wanye mwata wani meme wewe kiwanza kwa moka chirubai wani mema soka misisa papa nanga mwata wani papa wani munganga wani wakola muyana na shani nzala zambi wani meme chimukwela kumuchima wani moyo wani mukunanga bikola wewe kishada wani meme amwe wani mukunanga bikola wewe ni mukunanga wewe wani mukunanga wata wani aya misezo se precipite bima ona bolingo nayo na kokiteo na ngachani shabila yuane wanza kongolo wani wata wani wicha bwatwe Yesu bimabalo shiwanye shetame ya moi kiwe wanza kiwewe na uchimumanya kiwewe chimukwela kuchima wanye wewani mukunanga bikola wewakishada
We give rise and we give glory unto Yahuwah our Elohim for another day that he has made available unto us on such a special day as it is known to the keepers of the covenant as the Sabbath or the rest day of Elohim. We thank him for his tenderfold mercies that he has displayed in our lives. The very fact that we are still functioning today is by reason of the one who has made us. For I think that if we were in control of all of our own lives, then there wouldn't be a sick person on this planet. But the very fact that some are sick and others are healthy is an indication that Elohim, he is in control of all things and he has chosen for us to be healthy today. So We thank him for his mercies and his loving kindness towards us today. We rise and we give honor unto him, and we say that there is but one Elohim, and besides him there is none. He is the supreme creator of the universe. He is the master of the day of judgment, the ruler of all living souls, the supreme king of both spirits and flesh. We bear record that he is the sole authority and the supreme power. Both good and evil are in his hands. And whether the devil likes it or not, Satan is under his control. And one day, soon, he also will meet his maker on that fateful day of judgment. We thank all the listeners for tuning into today's word. As I was about to start speaking, I felt an itch. And usually when I hear that or feel that itch, it means that I am aggravated in my spirit. Because I was going through all the comments of some of our brothers. And then I was reminded about one of the reasons why I'm fed up when someone introduces himself as a pastor. I was reminded of one of the reasons why I am fed up with the way that the world is happening, or the churches, as they call themselves, are behaving nowadays. The Bible said in the book of Romans, it is because of this fact that the gospel is being evil spoken of. What is that fact? That fact is the question we want to deal with today. What the hell is the church? Is it a business? Is it an organization? What is it? And what are we supposed to do in these so-called churches? First of all, the word church has nothing to do with Elohim. It has pagan origins. The Greek rendering of ecclesia, if you would turn it to the English, it simply means an assembly. A certain people group called out into something. Just like the Bible says, do not be one with the world, but be ye separate. The word assembly means we are assembled from the world into a different state and position of mind first. So that when the Mashiach comes, he will establish the buildings and the bricks where we will come in and live. So to understand, a church is not a building. It's not brick and mortar. The church is you. The church is me. That is one. And then two, what is it? Is it a business or is it an organization? Just to break it down very simple before I dive in.
Deep sea diving.
The difference between a business and an organization is a business is there and it is an entity that has one sole purpose, which is to make profit. That is what a business is.
Money.
To make money by being in a process of buying and selling. An organization can be a group of people or an entity which has a purpose as well, but the purpose doesn't necessarily have to be making of money. An NGO or a stichting, as they call it in Dutch, has the purpose of helping the poor. That is an organization. So in that bracket, you can say the church should be an organization, not a business. Not a business. So the question then is, what is the purpose of the church? Because I really want to make simple foundations. I thought about having like a 50-minute theory, and then we can start the bashing. Talk about the real life happenings in the church. But let me at first give some foundations, because it may be that there is someone tuning in that has never been to a church before. I cannot simply start bashing before giving a quick explanation first of what is what. Now, to start with what is what, give me Colossians chapter 1, verse 24. Colossians chapter 1, verse 24. What is the church?
The book of Colossians,
or
chapter 1.
What is the assembly? Go ahead.
Verse 24.
Go ahead.
I read.
Uh-huh.
Who now rejoice in my sufferings for you, and fill up that which is behind of the afflictions of Yahushua in my flesh,
In my flesh. Go
for
ahead.
his body's sake,
For his body's sake.
which is the church.
Which is the assembly. So the assembly, from a biblical definition, the assembly is the body of Hamashiach. Very short description. The assembly is the body of Hamashiach. Now give me the same verse, but give me verse 18 of the same Colossians 1.
In between, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Like, when we read the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
and many people say that, how can it be wrong?
Mm.
Like, the Bible says the church. So why is it that I cannot say the church, or you are not saying the church, if it is written there, the church?
The
So
moment, I think for the sake of time, we have to deal with the subject, the church. Then I can really dive into the etymologies of the English renderings of the Greek origin of words. Because I will deal with that, or we will deal with that one day. But I advise you at least, please go and do your research. Type in origins of, because nowadays, I'm not saying become a Google preacher, but at least become a Google scholar first. Go and seek for origin of the word church. When you found it, I hope it will be a gateway for you to do other researches as well. Just know that I'm telling you, church has pagan origins, coming from circla, which means a coven of witches. Also coming from the pagan goddess Circe, which was the son or the daughter of Apollyon, or Helios, the god of the sun. So a church in a literal translation means the circle or the house of Kyrios. And Kyrios means Lord. So it's going too deep.
Too deep.
But it has so much relations as to why we don't even use the word Lord.
I have to put it on.
So it is going far and too far for this subject to handle.
Too spiritual.
So for the sake of the question, is the church a business? I have to abstain from the question of that brother or sister until the next time. So Colossians 1:18.
Colossians chapter 1, verse 18.
Go ahead.
I read.
Uh-huh.
And he is the head of the body,
Now he is the head of the body,
the church,
which is also the assembly. Now this he is Hamashiach, as was said in verse 24. So breaking it down, the assembly or the church simply means the body of Hamashiach, and he is the head of that body. Now when we say the head of that body, it means he is the leader. He is the one in charge. So if he is the one in charge, if you want to know the purpose of the assembly, you have to look at the purpose of Hamashiach. If you know what his mission was, you will know what the purpose of the church is. Now to understand what the objective of Hamashiach was, give me Luke chapter 19, verse 10. Luke chapter 19, verse 10.
Luke 19, verse 10.
Please go ahead.
For the Son of Man
For the Son of Man,
is come to seek
he came to seek
and to save
and to save.
that which was lost.
So in that retrospective, what is the purpose of the assembly? It is to seek and save the lost. It is to seek and save the lost. So to answer each and everyone's question, is the church a business? No, the church is an organization. Just like your body is an organization. And this organization's purpose is to seek and save the lost. Now the leader of this organization is called Yahushua HaMashiach. Now if he is the leader, it means no one else is the leader. But because he is the leader, he has delegated the task to certain people. Because just like a body is one, it had different members. So also, the church is one, but not everyone in the church has the same role. Now to understand the roles, we are now going into the responsibilities of the churches. Now give me the book of Corinthians.
First or second?
1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 27.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 27.
Go ahead.
Now ye are the body of Yahushua HaMashiach.
Now we make up the totality of the body of Yahushua HaMashiach.
And members in particular.
And we make out to be members in particular. So when you look at a member, there are fingers, there are hands, there are knees, there are feet. Not every member has the same function. Just like in the church, you have pastors, you have apostles, you have prophets, you have teachers, right? You have evangelists, you have deacons, you have elders. All these are different functions that make up the church. That make up the church. But where are we then going wrong in the church? The place where we are going wrong in the church is where the one whom Hamashiach appoints to be the leader takes away the church and is no longer involved in listening to what Hamashiach is saying with regards to the church, but he turns the church around and calls it my church. Have you ever heard about a ministry of a person? I'm so sick and tired of preachers. Let's say your name is Richard Johnson. You turn around and you say, this is the Richard Johnson ministry. Are you sick?
The Johnson's ministry.
Are you sick?
Hey.
Are you sick? This is the Richard Johnson ministry. You turn around and you call the church after your name. This is the Richard Johnson Temple.
RJN Church.
This is the RJM ministry. This is the SGU ministry. This is the CKM ministry. The moment you hear someone calling the ministry that he's leading and giving it his own name, that is already an indication that that person is not within the business of Yahushua HaMashiach. That is where all the error comes in. People call it my church. And because it is my church, guess what? If I am the CEO of a church, I do the appointing, I do the selecting, I do the choosing, I make up the rules and regulation. That's why you will see a lot of churches, the one who decides everything is that pastor. That CEO.
Hey.
That CEO. And if you look at the things that he decides to do, it has little to nothing to do with the church. So that's where you see that things are going wrong. But if you have a mentality of your understanding that Yahushua is the CEO of the gathering, that you have to look at him. And his mission and objective was to seek and save the lost. But what you will see nowadays is that's no longer the business of the church. The church is already only involved in how many members can we acquire. How many members can we acquire? Don't you know that you can have an assembly without having money? Don't you know that if you read, not even the Old, because if I go to the Old Testament, there are Old Testament bashers in our midst. So I will stick with the new. Hey. Do you know how many times Shaul says, greetings to Apollos?
Apollos.
And the church that is in their house. Ever heard of house churches? How many money do they collect over there? So the church is not brick and mortar. But nowadays, the CEOs of the churches, the pastors, they are only engaged and involved in, I have to buy new chairs. The chairs are old. I have to put limited seats. I have to put new carpet. They are more, you see, this is sickening. There are some pastors that they never go and visit the sick and the engaged and the starved. But what they will do is they will rather spend money to buy seats for the church. So that when someone comes in, you will see, oh, this building, it is great. The building has nothing to do with a church. That's right. Come on. You can have a most powerful of church outside in the rain. Ever heard of that one before? That's right. Some people are so entangled and obsessed with the building that if they take away the building, some will not even come to church anymore. That is how sick we have become. That is how sick we have become. There is total and utter confusion in the churches simply because the leaders are now in revolt against the one who appointed them. The Bible says, will the potter turn around, or will the pot turn around and tell the potter, why have you made me thus? But now the CEOs of the churches or the leaders or the pastors, they turn around against the Messiah and they're like, no. Your rules are wrong. Let me put my own rule. So the Bible said now the whole table is full of vomit. There is no place clean. Give me the book of Isaiah. A lot of brothers, if you tell them, hey, why don't you go to church? The first thing they say, these pastors are hypocrites. And I'm like, brother, what do you mean? They're like, I saw this pastor. He's driving in a Ferrari, a Mercedes S-Class. And then when I go to visit that church, I see all the widows, I see the sick, and I see the orphans. And I'm like, how the hell is it possible? You are a shepherd. You are driving a Ferrari. You are driving a Mercedes S-Class, but there are poor people in your church.
What a shock.
And the funny thing is, I know you don't work. So where is this help coming from? Where is the money coming from? First, give me Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 28 verse 7. Total confusion in the church. Total confusion in the assemblies. The shepherds have turned around. Instead of feeding the poor, they are feeding themselves. You see the sheep, they are thin, they are skinny, they are wounded, they are broken. But you see the shepherds in Armani suits, in suit supply suits, in Ferraris, in cars, in convertibles. And then they come by, they're like, oh, sister, may the Lord bless you. May the Lord bless you. So the pastors, they only bless people spiritually, but they expect the people to bless them financially. How sick is that? How sick is that? I pray over your house. May you be anointed. Why does the pastor don't ask the people, anoint us also? So the pastors, they only anoint with spiritual, invisible things, but the sheep, they anoint the pastors with their money and their substance. Please keep your oil to yourself. Give me money.
Give me money.
Give me money. Pay my bills. Help me with my children. Do something. Isaiah 28 verse 7.
I read.
Go ahead.
But they also have erred through wine.
But they, the leaders, the appointed ones, they have erred through wine.
And through strong drink.
And through strong drinks.
Are out of the way.
They are out of the way. Totally out of the way.
The priest and the prophet have erred through strong drink.
And the prophet, they have erred through strong drink.
They are swallowed up of wine.
They are swallowed up of wine.
They are out of the way.
They are completely out of the way. Go ahead.
They err in vision.
They err in vision.
They stumble in judgment.
They stumble in judgment.
For all tables, verse 8, are full of vomit and filthiness.
And because the leaders, they stumble in judgment, now as a result, the entire assembly is filled with vomit. People don't know what is left and what is right anymore. They take away the weightier matters of the law and they only magnify the little ones. So now there is total confusion. There is total confusion. To understand this verse a bit more, give me the book of Matthew. Matthew 23, verse 16, going forward. Precept upon precept.
The book of Matthew, chapter 23, verse 16.
Go ahead.
Woe unto you.
Woe unto you.
Ye blind guides.
Ye blind guides, self-appointed ministers. They call themselves ministers of finance, not ministers of the gospel. You are a minister of finance. Go ahead.
Which say, whosoever shall swear by the temple.
Listen at the hypocrites. I don't know how often you go to church, but when you go to church, what you will see most of the time, they give the preacher 15 to 20 minutes to preach. After the 15 to 20 minutes to preach, they take about 45 minutes to talk about finances in the house of Elohim. They're like, sister so-and-so did not pay her tithe. They will send you reminders. The pastor will call you to ask, have you paid your tithe? More than he will call you to ask how or what is the state of your soul. That is how sick we have become. They will call you. Deacons will call you and say, sister, it is me, Pastor Brobobios. And I had a question. It's the end of the month, and I see that you haven't paid your tithe yet. When can we expect it to come? But the pastor will not call you and say, sister, it's been a month, and you told me that there was something going on with your house. I just wanted to know, what is the state of your soul, and how can we help you more? Those questions you won't hear, but they will call you to ask, when will you pay your tithe? When will you pay your tithe so that we can finish mortgage? So please continue reading.
Whosoever shall swear by the temple,
Whosoever shall swear by the temple,
it is nothing.
it is nothing.
But whosoever shall swear
But
by the
whosoever
gold
shall
of
swear,
the temple, he is a debtor.
He is. Do you know what this means? Do you know what this means? Most of the time you will see they can spend a whole month teaching about the importance of paying tithe. They will break down the different levels of paying tithe. You don't know the mystery behind paying tithe, but they will only spend 1 week a year talking about indecent behavior, talking about how women should dress, talking about how men should behave, talking about leadership in the houses. They will spend 1 week or 1 month, and at the remaining time, they only talk about tithes. No matter what message the pastor will preach, before he finishes, he will always has to link it with paying tithes. Talking about, I don't want to scare anyone, but the implications and the curses behind not paying your tithe is very dangerous.
Third and fourth generation.
But no one says the implications and dangers of indecent behavior and indecent dressing has curses behind it. No one will say it. That's why Yeshua said, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees. You say it does not matter if you swear by the temple, but it is matterful if you swear by the gold. So they put more emphasis on the pressure of gold than it is on the sacredness of the temple. Continue reading.
Verse 17.
Verse 17.
Ye fools
Ye fools.
and blind.
Go ahead.
For whether is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifieth the gold?
Go ahead.
Verse 18.
Verse 18.
And whosoever shall swear by the altar,
Go ahead.
it is nothing. But whosoever sweareth by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty.
Go ahead.
Verse 19.
Verse 19.
Ye fools
Ye fools
and blind.
and blind.
For whether is greater, the gift or the altar
Go
that
ahead.
sanctifieth the gift?
When we say fools and stuff like that, people are like, you guys are speaking too harsh. Can you speak harsher than the Messiah? Can you speak harsher than the Messiah? He says, ye blind, ye stubborn neck, ye fat neck, ye rubber neck, ye fools. That is what he's saying.
Hey,
Go ahead. It's very interesting. When the guy was poor, when he had no church, he was as skinny as a mosquito, as skinny as a toothpick. All of a sudden, 5 years later, now he's a prophet and he has gained weight. How is that possible? Instead of having revelations in your head and your mind, the level and substance of revelation is found in your belly.
Hey, revelation or belly?
It's filled within your belly. So you are gaining weight. You are gaining weight, chopping off ministry money. While your members, they are growing thin by the day. So Hamashiach is saying, ye fools. Go ahead.
I will continue from verse 23.
Yes,
Verse
I think
22,
so.
sorry.
Yeah.
And he that shall swear by heaven sweareth by the throne of Yahuwah.
Go ahead.
And by him that sitteth thereon.
Go ahead.
Verse 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees,
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees,
hypocrites!
hypocrites.
For ye pay tithe of
Listen,
mint
for ye pay tithe of mint
and anise
and
cumin,
cumin,
and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith.
That is what is happening in the churches nowadays. We preach more about cumin and anise and belongings, but we don't put emphasis on the weightier matters of the law, which is judgment, which is mercy, which is righteousness. Every preaching is centered around prosperity. Prosperity churches, they have taken over the world. That is why people that are sensitive to stuff like that, they say, I won't go to church anymore. Because nowadays, they replaced the name of the Messiah with money. You will hear money more than you will hear about the love of Yahushua. You will hear money more than you will hear about the Holy Spirit or the Ruach HaKodesh. You will hear the word pay money more than you will hear the words repent, for the kingdom of Elohim is at hand. So the Messiah is saying, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, ye hypocrites. You put away the weightier matters of the law, and all you talk about is money, 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 money. Have you paid your tithe? Have you paid your tithe? When will you pay your tithe? We have to pay mortgage. Hey, sister, have you done this? Where's the money? Money, 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 money. So the pastors now have become administrators of finance more than they have become administrators of souls. So the question is, where are we going now? And also regarding to the tithes and offering, let me show you something. Let me show you something. Malachi chapter 3 verse 10. Because I'm not talking about the fact that, hey, you see, Brother Chris, he's talking about tithe, so that means people don't have to take tithe. Damnable doctrine.
Hey.
Damnable doctrine.
Damnable doctrine.
How can you not pay tithe? Are you sick?
Are you mad?
Are you sick? The Bible said that the cow that is plowing the field has the right to eat of the grass of the same field. Heard that one before? So you expect the pastor to only minister to your soul? I'm talking about the righteous pastors. You expect them to fast for you, do everything for you, but you cannot even buy bread for them to eat? What type of person are you? Malachi chapter 3 verse 10.
I read.
Go ahead.
Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse.
Bring ye all the what?
Tithes.
Bring ye all the what?
Tithes.
The tithe. So for all these people that are now so deep into Hebrew Israelitism, oh, we don't have to pay tithe because there are no more Levites anymore. Oh, so you can identify what tribe you are from. Can you show us proof? Who told you that there are no Levites anymore? Who told you that? Who showed you that? So he says, bring in all the tithes into mine storehouses. So that what?
That there may be meat in mine house.
That there may be meat in my house. Now, what is it supposed to be done with the meat? Give me Deuteronomy chapter 26 and 12. We are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Church politics is not Elohim's politics. Elohim does not deal in politics. Elohim is a dictator par excellence. Do what he says, otherwise you are done. He will not force you, but the consequences will come later on. Deuteronomy chapter 26 verse 12. Go ahead.
I read.
Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 26.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 26 from verse 12.
When thou hast made an end of tithing.
When you have made an end of tithing.
All the tithes of thine increase the third year.
All the tithes of thine increase the third year.
Which is the year of tithing.
Which is the year of tithing.
And hast given it unto the Levites.
You have given it unto whom?
The Levites.
The Levites now, they come in place of what we call the fivefold ministry. Them that render and take care of your soul. Them that help you. Them that support you spiritually. You can now put them in the stead of the Levites. So when you have given them a portion of your tithe, and, go ahead.
The stranger.
The stranger.
The fatherless.
The fatherless.
And the widow.
And the what?
The widow.
And the what?
The widow.
That is the purpose of tithing. I know a lot of people are against tithing now. Why? Because they take their money, they give it to the Levites, and instead of the Levites to honestly take their portion and distribute the rest, they keep it for themselves. Now you see, you have a church of 200 members. You, the pastor, 200 members are giving tithe. You are dropping all the money. You are increasing in wealth. You are accumulating in wealth. But what about the poor? What about the orphans? What about the widows? They are not doing it. And because they are not doing it, people are now sensitive enough and say, you know what? I will not give the pastor a dime of my money. And let me tell you something. You are right. Hey, brother, if you don't give the pastor your tithe anymore, you are right. If you know he's behaving in such a way as keeping the money to himself, sister, if you have decided and said, as for me, I will not give him a dime anymore, I tell you, you are right. But the question then is, if you have decided not to give the pastor money anymore, so what will you do with your money? If you are keeping it to yourself, you are damned just like the pastor is damned.
Hey.
You are a greedy hippopotamus.
Hey, hippopotamus.
You are greedy. So what should you do with the money? If you know that the church is not trustworthy, unfortunate to say, take the money and start engaging in charity events. Someone has to take care of the widows. Someone has to take care of the orphans. Ye are the light of the world. Elohim has given you a chance. Give also someone else a chance. Don't engage in gluttony. You have €100 coming in. You spend all the 100, not thinking about the less fortunate ones. At least spend €1, €2, €10 and visit and give it to someone that is in need. In doing so, you are also paying your tithe. And Elohim will not hold you accountable in the moment that you are not doing well. So this is the life that we are living. And this is what we are commanded to do. But unfortunately, as we said, this is not the behavior of the churches. The pastor thinks that the tithe is their money. I know a lot of people, and it is very sad to say, before they repented, they were broke as hell. The only way that they could get money was through means of criminal engagements. But now they repented. Instead of having a decent work, they don't want to work anymore. They say we are into the full-time ministry. So they are now using the ministry as a means to gain wealth. So what is the intention of your ministry then? What is the intention of your ministry then? A lot, I know them. Many of them, they don't have a decent work. They don't. They refuse because they think they are bigger than that. When you were young, you didn't want to go to school. Now the only job you can do is clean toilets. But now you are too proud to do it. And now you want to only wear suits. And in your suit, you cannot clean a toilet with a suit. So now you think that, hey, as for me, I won't clean toilets anymore. Rather, I will engage in ministry. Now you expect after every service that the people will give you money. When they don't give you money, you are angry. So you start strategizing in your chamber. What message can I give to tickle their fancy? What message can I give to tickle their ears? How can I make them happy so that they will shower their money upon me? So that's why now you come. You have turned into a prosperity preacher. Oh, I had a vision of the Lord. He said, 10 people in this place, they have to give €5,000. And then after 30 minutes of enticing words, only 4 people come. And then all of a sudden, update. The Ruach is sending me an update. It wasn't 10. I didn't hear it well. It was 4 people. So the Elohim that is all-knowing is making a mistake. And then the 4, you will try to entice them with words. After 1 hour of sweating, only 2 people come. And then, another revelation. Then you start quoting about the woman that gave all that she had. You're like, all that you have, even if it's penny, bring it to the altar. That is how sick we have become. And the people are there, they are sitting, observing, especially the men. As for us, we don't joke with our money. We know we have to pay bills. I'm talking about responsible men. We know we have to pay bills. We have to take care of our wives, our household. So if I have €100, I won't give it to some Negro. So we are observing. We are looking. And we are like, this is a joke. That's why men, they don't respect pastors. Women are fans of pastors, but men, they don't respect pastors. That's why you will see most churches. That's why if you want to see the state of a church, look at the members. if the church has more men than women, then chances are that that church is doing okay. If a church has more females than it has men, chances are that that church is compromised. Because men, they don't entertain foolishness. Women entertain foolishness. Not because they love it. It's in their nature to follow men. So they will follow everything that the man is saying. So you see churches filled with women. They would rather spend all that they have to pay and give to the church than they will spend to help her husband create a business. That is how sick the church has become. That's why we men, we are bitter to the core. We are bitter to the core. We are like, these pastors, let me drink beer, watch Champions League, then spend 2 hours in that church because they will talk about money anyways. Let me leave my wallet at home. Let me leave my wallet at home. Let me lock it. Whatever you want, I won't pay. I don't have anything for you. So, dear brothers and dear sisters, I know that there is a bit of humor and a bit of harshness, but let's be serious. Because many people, it's because of all the things happening in the church that they decide not to believe anymore. We have polluted the gospel. We have polluted the gospel. We are now preaching for filthy lucre's sake. That's why when I see you, I look at your objective. I'm like, this guy that is preaching now, I know that apart from preaching, he has no means of income. And if I assess that about you, I'm done. I won't listen. I won't listen. People think Elohim only wants broke Negroes and people that have been criminals and people that have no other option. No. Elohim is not about picking up beggars. He also wants people of stature. People that can say, listen, I'm into the gospel's sake, not because I need your money. I'm into the gospel's sake because it is my responsibility. I don't need €1 from you. That's why I can preach the way I can preach. Uncompromised. Because at the end of the day, I don't expect 50 cents from you.
I get paid.
Do you pay my bills?
I get paid.
Can you feed me? Can you wear my suit?
Do you know what I chop?
Can you wear my pochette?
I want a shock.
People think that I only wear suit to come and preach. I wear suit Monday to Friday for job.
Hey.
If you are someone you only wear suit on Sunday, ask yourself the question, why do you have suits? Why do you have suits? No, we have to be serious. Some people, they are into the gospel for filthy lucre's sake. They take the tithes and they go and they buy a Ferrari. While the church members, they are walking starved. So what is going on? That's why you also see most of them, they cannot preach the full gospel because they are limited to the members. They know if I offend the members, they won't give me money. If they won't give me money, I can't pay mortgage. If I can't pay mortgage, I can't pay my car debt. If I can't pay my car debt, I will sleep on the street. If I sleep on the street, my wife will leave me. So what do they now? They are compromised. They can bash about everything, but the members that give the most money, they don't preach about their sins. Compromise to the core. That's why you see the churches, they are weakened. Men don't have the fortitude anymore to speak the truth as it is because they are limited by their resources. But as for us, we need nothing from you. Even if you come and give us money, we won't take it. So that you can say, hey, this guy, he's preaching because we pay their radio. Have you ever heard about Abraham and the field of Mamre? The owner of the field of Mamre was like, Abraham, you helped us so much. Take this field free of charge. Abraham said, no, lest I blaspheme my Elohim. So that you will turn and say, we bless Abraham. We need not your money. If you have money, brother, sister, don't give it to anyone. Go to the poor, give them. Go to the orphans, give them. Go to the widows, give them. Your pastor doesn't need another suit anymore. Don't buy for him. Don't do it. No need. If he wants to get something, tell him to go and get a job. Because we are all under the guise of, hey, I'm in the full-time ministry. Do you mean to say you pray 24/7? So when do you sleep then?
Never sleep. Always sleep.
When do you enjoy time with your wife? How do you make children? Oh, you made them in the spirit.
Spiritual children.
So they are your spiritual children.
Yes.
But how do they look like you physically then?
Hey.
So this is the type of life that we are living. This is the type of life that we are living. So apart from that, one more thing, because we have to jump for the sake of time, the appointing of leaders. Because this one I was talking about is the church a business. The answer is no. Now, sub-prefects.
Sub-prefects.
Is the church a family business? I haven't touched on that one yet.
It's a sub.
I haven't touched on that one yet. You go to a church, hey, you see that the head apostle is the father. Apostle. The pastor is the son. The assistant pastor is his wife.
Suffer, mommy.
The elder is his son. The head of the choir is the uncle.
Uncle Buruburus.
The usher are the nephews. So it's a family business. Every decision they take, it happens within the confines of family. If this is your situation, you are sick in your head. There is too much compromise there. Even if it's the truth, from an outside perspective, it is not right. It is not right. Someone gets into the ministry, all of a sudden, he forces his wife to become assistant pastor. She's not adept. She's not able. It is not her place. But you force her so that you guys can go and have, so that people can call you guys the power couple, the dunamis couple. The dunamis couple.
Bunny.
We hear about Isaiah. Do we hear about the wife of Isaiah? We hear about, what's his name? Ezekiel. Do we hear about the wife of Ezekiel?
She even died.
You hear about Jeremiah. He says, and after I finished ministering, my wife passed away with a stroke.
And of Ezekiel.
So what is life? What is life? The brother said it. Let me emphasize what he said. He said he has never seen a woman pastor. I go further and say, Elohim has never ordained for any woman to preach.
Hey.
He has not ordained for any woman to preach.
It's a statement.
If you want to go and preach women, go and preach your sons at home. Their son, their Lemuel. Stray away from strong drink. For it does not suffice for a king to drink strong drinks. Don't preach your husband. He's above you. The brother went far and said, every man is called to be a preacher. Not to stand before the pulpit, but to be a priest to your household. Do the sisters have a question? Let them ask their husbands at home. If all you do is drink beer, Champions League, that's why now also your wife, she needs leadership. Because you cannot provide, she goes to the pastor. That's why now the pastors are misbehaving, sleeping with people's wives. It was not the intention. You don't teach your wife. You rather mention all the names of football. Hey, this is Messi, this is Ronaldo. Which Ronaldo?
This is Neymar.
This is Mbappe. so the question is, what are you doing in your private time?
Mbappe.
African name, but he says he's from Guadeloupe.
Guadeloupe.
Kylian Mbappe. So seriously, guys, there is something wrong, even in the appointing of leaders in the church. I'm not saying it is wrong if you want your son to take over the baton. It is perfectly fine because the Bible says, teach your children in the ways of Elohim. The Bible says, and Yahuwah said unto Abraham, I will not hide anything from Abraham, seeing that he's my friend. And he will teach the generations after him, after my ways. It is okay if you want your son to take over, but it is not mandatory. If you see that your son is not capable, don't force him into a role. Don't jeopardize the souls of everyone in the church. There was a disciple whom the Messiah loved. He says, I was his favorite, laying upon his bosom. His name was John. But why, when the Messiah had to appoint a leader, Why did he not choose John, but he chose Peter? There is no favoritism in the kingdom of Elohim. Give someone the role according to his capacity. Bible says, if any man should minister, let him minister according to the portion of grace that he received. From whom? From Yahushua. Because Yahushua appoints apostles. Yahushua appoints pastors. Yahushua appoints leaders. Give me the book of Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4. Give me from verse 10.
Ephesians chapter 4, verse 10.
Go ahead.
He that descended
He that came down
is the same also that ascended.
He came down to seek and save, and then he ascended. But as he ascended, he gave gifts unto men. Go ahead.
Up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things.
Go ahead.
Verse 11.
Verse 11.
And he gave some.
He gave, not all. He gave some.
Apostles. And some.
Now who gave? He gave. Yahushua gave. Yahushua selects leaders. He selects who is the apostle. He selects who is the pastor. He selects who is the evangelist. He selects who is the teacher. He selects who is the, what's the other one? Evangelist. Teacher, prophet, apostle, and shepherd. Fivefold. He's the one who selects it. No one else does it. And when he selects it, the tokens of your ministry shall be shown by the way you minister. That's why there are some people from a very young age, their family members, their friends, they're like, hey, pastor. When you're young, you don't understand why. They are seeing it all around you. Your workmanship shall be shown towards all men. And before you have been called to be before the world will know you are a pastor, it will show by your works. David was anointed to be a king in secret by the prophet Samuel. But the people around him, even before they knew that Samuel already anointed him, they began to praise him as their leader. Leader qualities will show in a group. Your calling will bear. Because the Bible says you will know them by their fruits. You will know them by their fruit. If your son is only interested in football, interested in women, how can you force him to become a pastor? He will be like the sons of Eli.
Play them like football.
Sleeping around with women in the church. Why? He told you, Dad, I don't want to do this. You forced him to. You are my son. If you don't do it, I will release the prophetic curse upon your life. But it's your son.
Wow.
So now he's shaken. He's like, hey, I don't want to die young. Let me do what the old man says. And now he became a pastor. His heart was not in it. Elohim was not in it. So everything he will do will be filled with compromise. You bring about your wife. Hey, baby, I'm the major apostle. I'm the major apostle. Baby. The people will tell me, how can I teach other people? But as for my wife, she's not doing anything. We can't have this. So today, by the anointing upon my life, I release upon you the mandate of apostleship. Take over. And then you bring your wife to the camps for 3 weeks. You and her, you are fasting intensive. Shadalaba, habala. You lay hands on her, then you force her to go and preach to the masses. Now she's become Mrs. Pastor. And there comes about confusion in the church. The church starts taking on a feminine spirit. The spirit of Jezebel has taken over. Now your assistant pastor, who's a male, cannot say something to your wife because now she's above him. Do you think a man will tolerate that? You are now forcing the sheep to call her mama, spiritual mama. Have you ever heard of a spiritual mama before? What a sickness. Mama. Have you heard that one before? She's my spiritual mother. Even when Barak came unto Deborah, who was under the tree, when did he say, hey, Deborah, my spiritual mother, help me? This is how crazy we have become. We all have but one mother, Zion. We all have but one mother, Zion. So if you want to call someone your spiritual mother, call Jerusalem my mother. Because she is portrayed in the Bible as a female. And we have one father, Yahushua HaMashiach, who appointed unto him leaders who are to stand in his place. That's why Shaul said, though there are many teachers, you have but one. So please, pastor, please, brother, I'm pointing your members to take over the deacon board, the board of trustees, the board of finance. Everything in the church is run by family. You are sick and you are in need of serious help. Somewhere down the line, there is bound to be compromise, because you will not make the right call, because some way you are filled with sentiment, because the proof is there that only the members of your family are already in leadership. Because I'm sure there are people walking around, they are more able than your nephew, they are more able than your uncle, but still you appoint your uncle. Why? Because you are afraid. You are afraid to lose over control. But if you understand that the control is not yours, it's the Mashiach's anyway, why are you stressing about? Why are you stressing about? Moses was struggling dealing with the people of Israel. He was struggling, doing everything by himself. But then the high priest of Midian, by the name of Jethro, he came to him and said, Moses, the thing you are doing, it is not correct. It is too much. Delegate. Did you see Moses running around and saying, hey, everyone from Levi, come, let's take over the baton? No. He said, choose ye responsible men out of every tribe and appoint them to see over the people. Out of every tribe, 70 elders choose. But you only make selection based upon how many family members I have. If you know, me, my wife, my son, my daughter, we are 5, so you make a leadership board consisting of 5 members.
You divide the 5 over your family.
That is how we are living nowadays. And that's why the people are in your church, they are laboring. You don't want to give them a chance. Why? Because you know, hey, this brother has fire. If I let him preach 2 times, the people will follow him and they will not follow me anymore. So now you have the complex of Shaul versus David. But whether you like it or not, Shaul shall be overthrown and David will take over. You cannot take away the light from the anointed ones of Elohim. Whether they stay and they take over or they leave and they take over, no matter what you do, take over is a fact. So rather join him than be against him. If you can win, join. So this is the level that we are living. And this is the state of the church nowadays. I have 5 more minutes left. So let me try to answer. I think I answered the questions, right? Or is there something I didn't answer?
Hit everything.
I hit everything.
Everything.
Then by the grace of Elohim, Shalom.
Know that you were listening once again to the Hour of Restoration, coming your way live each and every Shabbat from 10 to 12 p.m. Know that once again we will come your way with a new topic next week. So tell a friend to tune in next week. And if you missed this or one of our shows, know that you can watch it again on Facebook Live, the Hour of Restoration, and you can listen to it on SoundCloud, the Hour of Restoration. And if you have Instagram, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, the Hour of Restoration. And once again, we bless the ones that commented: Randy, Jimmy, Nana, Brittany, once again, Benjamin, Helena. We see you all, we love you all, and we hope to see you again. Case Kibinda, I cannot forget you. Laila Donkor, new commenter, we all thank you, we love you, and we hope to see you again next week. And with these faithful words, we leave you. Shalom.
There is a benefit. Am I here for a reason that I probably never find if you never get my life in me? Give me peace of mind, something where people don't define. Search everywhere, they can never find, cause it's only in you, yeah. So if you dance, will it be enough? If we dance, will it be enough? No. Give a life for the one above, give a life for the one above, yeah. 1,000 tongues will be enough. What you've done, we go praise your name till the break of dawn. go praise your name till the break of dawn. Play the beat, oh yeah, on repeat, oh. Make we sing, oh yeah, for our King.